First, it's time to talk about an important issue that all parents face. We're talking about lying to your kids. So is it ever okay? A parenting coach is going to help us out in just a minute with the topic. But first, we asked you when you think a fib is better than the truth.
Well, we let them believe there's a Santa Claus, so I guess I have to say yes.
Yes, it's okay to lie to your kids if it's for their own good.
Yeah, of course there's Santa Claus.
Right.
It's not okay for people to lie to your kids.
I prefer not to, but there's probably times where you're trying to protect them from certain things that you may just not tell them the whole truth, which is still lying, but at least we justify it that way.
I kind of agree. Sometimes we try to protect them, but I'd prefer not to.
Appears to me the jury is out. So let's figure out when it is okay to lie to our kids. We have parenting coach Pam Dyson here with us to talk us through this, and I think we need some help from an expert. So thanks for taking the time for us this morning.
My pleasure, Matt.
Let's get right to the root of it, Pam. Why is it that we sometimes feel the need to lie to our kids?
Well, there's various reasons. One might be to protect our child. One of the parents that you interviewed on the street mentioned that.
Yep.
We don't want to see our children hurt. We don't want to see them confused. So we lie because we just don't want to go there.
But sometimes it's less about them and more about us, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a subject matter we're not comfortable with. Maybe your 3-year-old asks you where babies come from and you're not ready to go there yet. And so you make up a little story about where babies come from.
So let's talk about, before we get too deep down that road, because I certainly want to talk about that, let's talk about the little white lies. And I was reassured to hear you say that it's a normal part of our everyday communication.
It is. You know, as adults, we do it all day long. We really do. A coworker comes up to you and says, "Do you like my new hairstyle?" And you say, "Oh, it's great." And then later you say, "You know what? It's the worst style she could have possibly chosen for her hair."
Right.
Was it a lie? Yes. Was it appropriate? Yes.
So let's talk about this in the context of kids. Little white lies that we tell the kids. I have a 2.5-year-old at home who's perceptive enough to ask these kinds of questions about the artwork, about the breakfast that they helped make.
Right.
It's okay to be generous with your comments, I would hope.
Your child goes to the trouble of making you breakfast. The toast is burnt, the cereal's soggy. Are you going to say that? No, you're going to tell them it's the most wonderful breakfast you've ever eaten. Is it a lie? Yes. Is it appropriate? Yes, because it's going to encourage them to do it again, to try something like that to please you. If they don't please you the first time, they might not want to try it again.
So don't throw the soggy cereal against the wall, people. You heard it here first.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about, honestly, when it's not okay to lie. This is where it gets a little more serious. When kids ask questions or they're involved in a situation that involves a certain range of topics, we need to be honest. What kind of topics are we talking about?
Well, you know, if a child is asking a question about something, then they're old enough to get an honest answer.
That's an important point.
It is an honest answer within the realm of what they're able to understand for their age.
Right.
Because you can give too much information as well. But if a child comes to you with a question about death, how do you explain it? What are you going to say? If you say, "Oh, yes, Grandma died, but Grandma's asleep," your child might be afraid to go to sleep. What if I go to sleep and I die? Or Grandpa was really sick.
Right.
Oh, what if Mom or Dad get sick? Are they going to die too? So you're giving them an answer, but maybe not enough. Maybe it's going to make them even more curious, maybe make them anxious if you aren't really giving them the information that they need. So,
and if they do have concerns after that initial answer, ask them to share that with you,
exactly, exactly. So death is one of those topics you really need to be honest with kids about.
Another big one as a parent now that I see is this idea of lying by omission. Maybe you're not lying outright, but you're not disclosing the full truth. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you leave out a few details because you're thinking, "Oh, I don't really want to go there."
Right.
Sometimes that's okay. Say, for example, you've lost your job, money's tight, you think you might lose the house, you might lose the car. Are you going to share with your child all of those details and your concerns?
Probably not. But they're going to notice that you're at home a lot more because you're not going to work every day.
So it's okay to say to your child, "Hey, I lost my job. I'm looking for another job." Yeah, we got to be a little careful with how we spend our money, and they can be a part of helping you deal with that. You know, working on a budget, not going out to eat so much, not buying toys every time they go to the toy store. But do you have to tell them about your financial worries? No.
One more quick thing, too, before we let you go, and I want to be ginger with this. There's a lot of kids on spring break. Santa, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, we're maybe not always completely honest about where they live, for example. What are your thoughts on that, especially when they're they're young?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. It's a myth, it's fairy tales, it's fantasy. Indulge your child in that. You know, I don't know any adults who have ever said, oh, you know.
If I could get back at mom and dad
Usually they look at it from the perspective of, oh, you know, I'm thrilled they perpetuated that with me, because look at all the trouble they went to make that be fun.
There's no quick and easy answers here, people. If you could use some more parenting tips, we posted a link to Pam's website on our website, greatdaystlouis.com. Pam, thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Carol?
All right, well, raising boys, it can be tough on mom. Here's a picture of my two angels, I call them when they are not listening. My sons. Now, that is 5 years ago, and the oldest there is now a teenager.